Empress. We're doing back-to-back Empress and the Emperor and Tarot Delights. We cannot see the comments yet because it's still buffering.
So we will have a double Q&A for you next time.
Yes, on both the Emperor and the Empress. The Empress we are just now uploading. So welcome to Tarot Delights. I'm Rhonda.
I'm Kayla.
And this is Kayla. And we're here to talk to you about the Emperor. We're going in order.
We asked if you wanted us to go out of order, and no one replied.
No one replied. But if you go to our group or even our page, but mostly our group, Goddess Garage, on Facebook, I have put up, do you have any questions? Put in the comments if you have any questions. If you have a question about a particular card, it doesn't have to be Emperor related, as long as it's tarot related. And we will be doing another podcast, probably starting in the fall, once we get a few of these under our belt.
Yes.
We'll be doing one called Other Delights. So we'll be talking about mystical stuff and chakra stuff and witchcraft stuff and what else other stuff. And
Runes and what else?
We can
Trees.
get
There's
it.
a lot of mysticalism
Yeah.
with trees and stuff.
we can even get into hoodoo if people want to
Ooh,
do
I
that.
would love to learn hoodoo.
Druidy and that sort of
Druidic,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, because I started out walking down the druid path.
Which is interesting. So I would be curious to see if that's a common trait. Because I didn't veer into like Wicca.
Yeah.
I started out in like nature druidic research, I should say. And it kind of like right now I'm kind of like eclectic in my path, but I definitely started out in druidic stylings. So I find it really interesting, and whether or not that would be a popular experience for people or if they've had other experiences.
Yeah, because for me, I'm an Irish Indian, as I call myself. So I'm part Mohawk and part Irish. And I was raised Roman Catholic, very strict Roman Catholic. So, I had the fear of God put into me. And when I wanted to veer from that path, I found that I picked Druidism only because it had Celtic roots, so I was familiar with that. And it had the nature side, which I was familiar with on the native side, although for my father, native was considered heathenistic as well.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. So my mother kind of had to teach me sort of in secret.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah, so I kind of embraced that side of things, and I found a lot of similarities between my native sort of spiritualism as well, like in the Druid world. But I found a lot of male-based kind of energy as well, which is kind of part of the reason I was walking away from the church to begin with.
Well, and I'm a part of some druidic spirituality groups on Facebook, and a lot of them, like, if someone's like, hey, I'm new, where do I start? And a lot of the messaging that comes up with is read some texts, here's some historical documents or that we've found. But, like, nobody, because of the overtake of Christianity and Catholicism in the Celtic Isles, and by the Celtic Isles, I mean, like, most of Europe, I think that a lot of it got washed away, and no one's ever really been able to definitively say that, like, this is this and this is this. So Celtic or some Druidic terms are like an umbrella, and some people don't like that, right? Because there's like Welsh traditions and other traditions and like Icelandic traditions. So I find it like fascinating just in and of that is that this way kind of got me in the doorway, but then it opened up like a fan of options to really learn.
And I mean, I'm giving away my age a little here because I did not have that kind of information available to me. First of all, there was no internet. I know, kids, there used to be no internet.
We're both older than Google.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I remember internet being just chat rooms at the start. But yeah, and even the books that were available were very, very limited. And yeah, so I've gone down many, many different paths, both in book land, but also in actual practices. And back in those days, a lot of groups that were either Wiccan or witchcraft or Druid or whatever were very secretive and very closed
Yeah, and
communities. And I worked my way into them. And
and I think that's the thing that's changed is and part of that is because it's become a little bit more accepted in society. Like there still are people that are very wary, but I've been able to learn very valuable lessons and or teachings because of the fact that people are open. And so it's been a different world. Like I don't have as much fear as I probably would say you would at my age.
yeah.
For saying, hey, yeah, I practice.
Yeah. Or like even when I got into the Wiccan and witchcraft world, I was terrified. You know, I was like, oh my God, maybe all the bad things that my parents taught me are true, right? And, you know, like, am I going to hell for doing this?
That was definitely a thought process.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, that is Other
That should
Delights.
be another delight.
Exactly.
Yes. Sorry, we kind of got on a tangent there.
So we're here today to talk about the Emperor. And I'm going to start, we'll start with the Rider-Waite-Smith because I like to show the traditional. So there's the Emperor himself. I hope we can see it okay because the lighting isn't great. I need to put a light sort of around here, you know, one of those round lights.
Oh, the ring lights?
Yeah, the ring lights that I have somewhere around. So I promise next week I'll try to have a ring light for you. Anyways, there he is on his throne. Now, his scepter, unlike the goddess, or not the goddess, the empress, hers is just round, right? His is round with a bit of a cross to it almost.
Isn't that the Ankh?
It can be the Ankh sometimes, yes,
Sorry,
absolutely.
I don't know.
And
Because I just noticed mine actually has one.
yeah, he's definitely holding the Ankh for sure.
So I have a updated clone of a Rider-Waite-Smith. So it has a lot of the symbology, but it's just kind of updated graphics.
So it's like it says, he's decorated with the emblems of Aries. So he's associated with Aries.
Oh, you do.
The Empress was associated with Venus. And Aries is the first of the zodiac signs, the warrior. But the strength that he's holding, the feminine power of love, which is what she's holding in her hands, and the male force of life-giving potency are balanced in his hands as orb and scepter.
Ooh.
So he goes another, kind of that extra step, because in the meditation, in the the Fool's Pilgrimage, may the fire of love and goodness so purify the earthbound nature of my personal self, that I may be found worthy to enter the sanctuary of the temple of true love, which is what the Empress teaches us. Only the pure heart can truly love. Lead me to the rose upon the cross of gold. And that's what that is, right? The rose sort of idea. O love, thy art, the lifeblood of the universe, and the sustainer of my soul. Give me strength to ascend onto thee. From the shadows, lead me into thy compassionate radiance.
Ooh.
And if anybody has studied any philosophies like Socrates and other big philosophers, they are often, as male philosophers, are looking for that sanctuary of true love, that struggle of life, reaching that enlightenment and finding that spirituality, that often, because we have the lifeblood flowing through us, and we never forget blood as women because we bleed it every month. It's involved with everything that goes on in our womb, and we create life with it, and all of us are born in blood, which is, the water of life, basically. And I find men are often doing the study of who am I, and women do it too, but in a different kind of way.
Well, I think because women are told who they are or who they're supposed to be from such a young age, that we already have this notion of who we're supposed to be. So when we go, who are we? It's almost like we have to fight against that.
A little bit, yeah. We almost have to undo ourselves in order
to build it back up.
So, and we often have a better concept of what it is to become undone and be okay with it. We're okay with chaos,
Mm-hmm.
whereas men do tend to like linear, you know, here's the next thing we do, and then we do this, and then we do that.
Yeah, I've noticed there's
Whereas
certain
women can
people-
be like, we're going to do this, and over here, and
which is interesting because that, okay, this is a whole other, like, we're going to do another dive on other delights. But, like, does that call into question the staggering amount of women who go undiagnosed ADHD?
oh, maybe, yeah,
Because, like, we're okay with chaos.
we are.
And most of other people are like, what are you doing? But we're like, oh, this is normal. And then in actuality, when, you know, we have kids that, and I say we figuratively because I don't have any kids yet, but some women who...
You deal with kids all the time.
Yes, I do, and they're fantastic. I love them to pieces. But I can tell, I'm starting to be able to tell the ones that I'm like, I might be dealing with some ADHD there.
Right,
You know,
right.
and I'm not, I don't diagnose. I'm not qualified to do that.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you see certain things and everything looks a little different and depending on the kid, but when you see certain factors kind of plug together, and I almost wonder that because there's a high percentage of women that don't get diagnosed because they mask differently, and a lot of our medical research has been done on men. So we don't know what a woman's ADHD brain looks like to the full extent.
Yeah.
And so that's,
And
I
maybe
think,
because we can handle it
Yeah.
a little bit.
we handle it and still look pretty doing it.
Right, exactly, right? Because, I mean, you work with kids. I'm the oldest of 7. I've raised 2 children myself. And you tend to understand the chaos of running a household. And, you know, like, I know my husband, he's like, well, I can cook tonight. What do we have in the freezer? I'm like, if you're asking me at 4 o'clock what we have in the freezer, you're not cooking tonight unless it's a TV dinner, you know? And it's like, no, honey, you got to start thinking about this at the beginning of the day.
Yep, so that you get it out.
So that you can
And I'm-
come home to the dinner you're going to cook.
I'm not, I can say I'm not guilty of that. Like, I kind of have the male perspective on that one because Josh cooks in my house.
Oh, there you go.
My
there you
husband
go.
is
So-
amazing. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, you know, I traditionally cooked in the house, so.
Yep.
But now my husband, thankfully, is trying to take on some of the regular chores, and it's amazing. I mean, I tell the old story of we had a standoff over a sock for 2 weeks in the hallway. And it's like,
if we had a standoff over something, it would not be 2 weeks. One of us would have killed each other by then. Like, we're not.
I was just seeing if he could see it. I don't think he saw it because eventually I picked it up and went,
Yep.
did you not see this dirty sock on the floor? And he was like, oh, I didn't even notice it. It's
See,
like,
my problem is
"Ugh."
I see it and then I forget it's there.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll come back for that. And then my brain's like, gone.
No, my ADHD is I see it, or maybe it's an OCD thing. I
It
don't
might be
know.
an OCD thing.
But I see it and I then
Can't unsee
I
it.
can't unsee it.
I do that at other people's houses. So because I work with kids in their environment, so sometimes I privately will take care of some kids. And if I've done something, like the shirt doesn't make it to the hamper when we change to going from outside to inside or whatever, I'll be like, oh, I gotta grab that. And I'll immediately do it because I know I can't leave it behind because it's not my house. Like,
Right,
I'm not
right.
making other people's houses messy. Now I just apparently need to do that to my own house.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Become that way with your own
Yep.
house, exactly. Now, in one of my favorite tarot decks, the Inner Child, which connects it to a fairy tale, each card, we have the Emperor and his new clothes. So he's in a barrel. If anybody remembers that story, he gets
Yes. So my
scammed for these designers, quote unquote, to make him some new clothes, but they don't make any new clothes, so he's walking naked in the streets to show off his new clothes. And it's a child, because only through a child's eyes and, from the mouths of babes, the child yells out, but he has no clothes. The Emperor has no clothes, and he's spent lots of money to these scam artists. And the Emperor, let's see what I have here.
Sorry, you keep going. I'm
No,
just going
that's okay.
nugget.
So he's number 4, which is a foundational number. So he does have his wisdom. I mean, he's a bit of a fool in the Emperor's New Clothes, but he's about building and constructing an earthly power. And that's why the Emperor is always trying to reach into that spiritual realm, because it's about, how do we get there as earthly beings, embracing our divinity and acknowledging it and reaching those levels. And in order to build successfully, communication is key. And that's part of what the Emperor's New Clothes is the communication. Because when the Emperor becomes greedy and unaware of his surroundings, he becomes blind and is the fool of his self-centered ways. He becomes dangerously foolish. A child with wisdom, a pure heart, and innocence points to the Emperor and awakens the people to this travesty and embarrassment. The child stands for the unconditional part of the soul that still believes in truth and order in accordance with nature. When the Emperor is in alignment with the Empress, there is the potential for grounding cosmic power and spirituality of the highest order. Both of these polarities live within each of us. We have both male and female energy, and it's about, the yin yang, embracing both. In early civilization, kingship depended on the choices of women. I know in my Mohawk society and tradition, for instance, the chiefs are picked by the women, and same thing, like when we used to go to war with other tribes and whatnot, it was the woman who decided, not the men. And marriage with I'm reading again from the workbook, marriage with the earthly representation of the goddess in the form of a queen was essential to the position of kingship. It was the original meaning of holy matrimony. And intermarriage with the receptive female energy, number 3, is necessary for the ordered male side, number 4, in order to produce law based on wisdom and love in the universe. The Empress is the wisdom of life. The Emperor is the application of that wisdom. So that's the Emperor. Let's just see if there's anything else that I can add to it here. He's about leadership, authority, management, vital energy, a strong, healthy ego, not just an ego.
Healthy.
Healthy.
Keyword.
Yeah, keyword, healthy. Duty to make the world a better place and the needs of the greater community. How can I do my small part to make the world a better place? Yeah.
So, well, you're reading from that, and I loved what that said. I'm kind of going, because there have been, so we're reading from different books, or we have tidbits from different books, and the Empress was so eloquently done, and then I'm reading the Emperor, and it just went back to, like, so there's, like, a little point I have, but, like, it overall was, like, the woman has creative expression, and it kind of explodes everywhere, and the Emperor reins them in and gives them boundaries, and I was like, hold it.
Whoa.
Hold it.
Now.
Where is this going?
Yes, yes.
So, because it was like, the Empress is an explosion of creativity, and the Emperor is the organizing principle who is able to put everything in its rightful place. And I was like, okay. That was where my, like, one red flag went up. And then...
Because I do like the Empress is the wisdom of life. The Emperor is the application of that wisdom.
Yeah, so I don't
like
think...
that better.
Yeah, so, like, that is more eloquently worded in the same context or the same meaning. This not so much, which is, like, the first beef I've had with this book.
Well, and this is the problem. In this book I've read many, many times that a lot of our astrology knowledge, our tarot knowledge is very male-based. It's coming from a male perspective exclusively almost, right? And even in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, Smith was cut out of it. She's the artist of it all. She's the creator of the pictures that we so well know and love, and yet she was not given any kind of credit for it, and she was even bound and gagged from being able to talk about it. Now, what I do love, though, too, is that Saturn, which is known as a god in astrology,
Yep.
actually started as a goddess. when the patriarchy came in, and I'm talking about when the Bible was first written, kind of thing, like, so I'm talking a long time ago, because there's ages of the world, and the first age was the matriarchal age. Now, we went too far as women and suppressed the men. Now the men have gone too far and suppressed the women, and now we're coming into a new age where women can take over again. But
So that
we
pendulum
must,
is swinging way too far in one direction.
yeah, so we must learn from our past mistakes and find an equality for both sides, right? So that we are working together, because we actually do need each other. Even the goddess knew that when she created God. She knew she needed that balance, right? And I know we're getting into dangerous territory here, but Saturn actually was a goddess when it first started out. And Saturn is the goddess, or god now, of limitations, but of boundaries. And everything needs boundaries.
That makes sense.
That we're always talking about healthy boundaries. So put instead of limitations, put boundaries.
Yeah, so thus the Emperor provides boundaries supporting creation in the material world. That is better stated.
Yeah,
Than the
boundaries,
beginning.
focus, right? Like in the creative process, it's a messy activity. I mean, if you've given birth, you know it's very messy. There's water and blood, and then the baby comes out, right? And sometimes you poop even. So, you know, it's very messy. But
Surprise if you didn't know that.
yeah, if you didn't know that, you'll learn that.
So as you're saying, the astrological influence, Aries fills the Emperor with the energy of the bubbling confidence and the knowledge that anything is possible once you set your mind to it. So I like that energy of it. It just how it got worded in the previous page wasn't my favorite.
But being able to have that focus in the creative process, that is the male female coming together in that perfect harmony, you know. And it's not to say females aren't focused, but it's just a different kind of energy, and we all know what it is because we all are capable of it within ourselves. It's not like I need to get a man in my life so I can focus. No, you need to tap into your male energy to create those boundaries and focus.
Yeah, I
so
feel
that
like-
you can, you know, drive
Yes.
your female energy into that beautiful creativity that we're capable of.
And I think with a healthy balance of both female and male energies is kind of that middle, that peaceful point of like, if you're too far one way or too far the other, you're going to be misbalanced and it's not going to make sense. Because I have a tendency, or like at least in my limited experience, if I don't have, like I think I do a lot of more female energy and I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And my other side of my brain's like, hold on, we have to make a to-do list. You need to remember X, Y, and Z before you just jump off the cliff.
Right. Yeah.
Proverbial speaking. I haven't done cliff diving in a while. And so I forget that you need that balance, especially when making decisions or creative projects especially, because there's going to be roadblocks. So there's going to be something that creative side of you isn't thinking. That creative side is like, hey, let's go. I know what I want to do and I know how to make it happen. And that other side of you, that male energy side is like, hold on. Are we going to be okay if we do this? How much is it going to cost? Like, not in a bad way, but just to not be aware of those things.
And male energy isn't always limiting. I
No,
mean, we
it's
all
not.
know, like, we've all met that 18, 19, 20-year-old guy who's just ready to take a risk, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm king of the world and nothing
That
can kill
daredevil
me.
energy.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yep.
there's that energy as well, right? And that's when the female comes in and goes, hang on now.
So I feel like, yeah, if you have, so like depending on the project or depending on the situation, your one side of the energy will come out more, and then the other side is kind of like that double check of like, hold on, are you thinking about X, Y, and Z? And depending on, so like if it's a creative endeavor, I want to say the female energy is like going for it, and the male energy is like, hold up, not limiting you, but just, hey, have you thought of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you were saying, it's sort of the coming together of the two. It makes that holy marriage work, right? And that's essentially what we're supposed to be doing anyways, is exploring both our male and female energy sides, regardless of which body we happen to be in. And then, you know, reaching that sort of balance, that perfect balance of the two energies.
And I would think that throughout the course of your life, you're going to learn from your, not mistakes, I would say learn your lessons and realize that it takes both energies to make a project come to fruition and really balance yourself out
Yeah.
and make sure that your both energies are represented before you go head first into a creative project, not off a cliff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, in the Gilded Tarot, I've got the Emperor here, and he's got the sun and stars, because of course he's that sun energy that we all need, that we all love, but too much sun will create a drought, right? And he's holding the scepter with the zodiac signs and whatnot around him, and he's got the red robe, and he's got, oh, again, they're suns, but the red robe of knowledge. So he is, the Emperor to me is like the sage, right? Like, and there, you know, we often talk about maid, mother, crone. Well, there is the son, the father, and the sage. That's the male aspect of those three places where we are in our lives. So the men move into the sage part of their life. And to me, this is like a very comforting father who will always have your back and tell you everything's going to be okay. And, you know, here, do you need a couple of bucks kind of thing and to pay the phone bill that you've fallen behind on yet again. But he is that comforting factor, but he's also that safe place where you can land if you need to, because again, he's got the backing of the Empress of the unconditional love, you know, and yeah, I love when the Emperor comes in, because I know great things are happening for people when that does come in, because he is that number 4, that you're ready to jump. Like, yes, you've had the idea, you've brought it partially into your reality. Now it's next time, and you're able to go to that next level. So as much as we've been bashing men, but we haven't really, but you know what I mean.
They have a very important role.
They have a very important role, and they are that ability for us to, they give us the safety to grow, to explore, you know, but it's only through the Empress, through that unconditional love, that the Emperor is able to give us that safe place, and to give us that place of non-judgment, you know, explore. Yeah, maybe this is the wrong way to go, but you do it in my arena and you'll find that out, but not in the hard way, right? Because life can be hard.
Life can be hard, and I feel like sometimes you just want to escape into a place where you have control, and sometimes the cards like to tell you, no, that's not what you're going to get.
Yeah.
They have a tendency to tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I found it really interesting. So in my version of the Rider-Waite-Smith, the clone that I have, the ram is at his feet. And then I've seen in other cards, they've been on like either side of the throne.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The Darkwoods Tarot has the ram is the emperor.
Oh, okay. There you
So
go.
that's kind of how they, like, I don't know, maybe it was too churchy of a representation in traditional. I don't think that's me being possible with that, not necessarily a reaction of the deck creator. I have no idea.
Right.
But no, I just found that very, very fascinating.
Well, the ram, like the Capricorn, the goat, is able to climb those heights that would scare most.
Yep.
Right? And
Oh yeah, they go sideways, don't they?
yeah, they can go sideways. It's crazy what they can climb. But the Emperor, like this is the energy I try to create in every tarot reading, and especially in my Bloom sessions, where actually I just told a young man last week, you know, you say whatever you need to say. There's no judgment here, because there were some things he was sort of hesitating on because he thought you're going to think bad of me, and I'm like, nope, there's no judgment. You know, like, this is the place to explore. This is the place to kind of explode if you need to, and say the things you wouldn't say out loud in civilized community or whatever, right? Because what we're doing is we're exploring right now and seeing where you go. And, you know, you say what you need to say, and then let's visit those consequences should you have said it to the person or to the group or whatever.
Yeah, and I feel like more people would almost benefit from a space like that. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like some ways school can be like that for kids, that safe place, but in a lot of ways it's not. And I feel like regardless of what age you are, sorry, school is just the context I work in 90% of the time, so that's where my brain went. But we need that safe space. So if people can find somebody, whoever it is in your life, that can offer you that safe space of like, hey, I'm not sure about this. Can we go through some possibilities? And then they're better informed on how to make a sound decision.
Yeah,
And
because a lot of people make these snap decisions. Like, if you can go to a space and say, I hate this person, I want them out of my life, I just want to kill my mother, whatever it is you want to say, and you get it out of your system, I think a lot of people would be a little more flexible, a little more forgiving, a little more like, okay, so yeah, my mom's not great or whatever. But, you know, now that I've got it out of my system, because so many people are like, I've cut my mother completely out of my out of my life. I don't talk to her. I won't talk to her till she's dead. And it's like, that is such a sad state of
Yeah.
affairs, right? And not saying that some people's mothers
it's not
aren't
rightfully
horrible.
justified for some people. No, we're not saying that.
Yeah.
I just think that sometimes if people had the space
To explore that.
and to have somebody with no judgment and be like, hey, let's explore this. And I know that's what a lot of therapy does, but then you hear horror stories of therapy not being a good place for people. So I think it would be really interesting if that space existed more prevalently than it does today.
Yeah, because I had mother issues. I get it. I get wanting to scream and wanting to go, fuck you. I told my mother, you're dead to me. And I regretted the 2 years I didn't talk to her. But I'm glad I was able to get past that. I was glad that we were able to start healing our relationship, and we've healed it. She's since passed on. But, you know, like, when people come to me with that kind of issue, it's like, I've been there. I completely understand. So let's explore this. You know, let's maybe not make the mistakes I felt I made, but maybe it's the right decision for you. But again, explore it, right? As opposed to, low power. As opposed to just, you know, saying, no, this is it. That's the end of it kind of thing. Because it's a primary relationship, right?
It is. And it's also a relationship that gets modeled later on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you learn from your parents how to treat other people almost.
Yeah. And if you're a believer in astrology and reincarnation and stuff, you picked her. You pick your parents before you.
Interesting.
Yeah, because you're learning lessons that you've agreed that I'm going to go through this with this person because I need to, you know, learn from this relationship, whatever you need to glean. The question is, what do you need to learn? Where's the gift? And what are you repairing from past lives, perhaps?
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Sorry,
it's
my
very
brain just
cool.
went.
Yeah, it can be very, very cool when you kind of start to think big picture and then bring it into the smaller picture.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we do that enough. Like, a lot of humans and people are just, and by humans and people, they're the same thing. Again, words, it's what? 8 o'clock
Yeah, there you go.
at night. Coffee's worn off a long time ago. I feel like we don't see the trees for the forest, and we're not able to do big picture, or at least if we're able to do big picture, we're not able to like focus in on.
Yeah,
the
we
first
do a
step.
lot of navel gazing.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, that hurts. I don't like it. Well, look up for a second and look around you, right?
Yeah.
And it's very easy to get trapped there. I'm not saying I've never navel gazed myself. The world is about me, you know?
A lot of kids still learn that, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
and more
I mean,
at-
that's, you know,
at
you're
recess?
supposed to think about yourself until you're about the age of 8. And then it's time to start thinking about others.
Well, no, just in like a simple proximity. I'm like, Dad, you're gonna run into somebody.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no idea. They're like, what? And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love my job. I just think they crack me up.
Oh yeah, kids can be really ridiculous sometimes, but then you look back and go, yeah, I did that too. I was just as ridiculous.
Or you're sitting there thinking, going, was I seriously this ridiculous at this age? There's no way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a way. We were.
Well, we were in some senses, but like some of the stuff the kids have access to, we didn't, right?
That's true.
So
that's
I'm like,
true. Yeah.
we
yeah.
didn't put it on the internet.
Yeah, that's true. There's no what do they call it? Evidence of me doing stupid shit.
Oh my gosh. Again, that's not a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So the next emperor that I have is from the Lightseers. So again, he's wearing red. And yeah, there he is in all his glory. He's got the king chess piece,
Oh, that's interesting.
which is kind of interesting. I used to be a chess champion back in the day, because I always say, you know, it's not the guy who sits on the throne that has the power. It's the voice whispering in his ear, and that would be the queen or the empress in this case. And she has the true power because she's the influence, right? Because the king on the chessboard can move one square at a time.
Well, the queen can go wherever she wants.
She can go wherever she wants. She can make pretty much any move except for the horse, the knight. She can't make that move, but she can pretty much do whatever the hell she wants after that. And of course, the whole aim of the game is to protect the weak king because he's your weakest person except for pawns, and you'll sacrifice them. No problem.
I have fond memories of my grandfather trying to teach me chess, but I think he didn't do it at an age where I like fully understood how awesome that was.
Oh, okay.
Because it didn't stick.
Oh, okay.
But since I work with kids, and there is some serious fascination with kids in chess.
Oh yeah,
'Cause
it's a cool game.
I've like it's an amazing game, but like I used to.
I'm
work
not
before
at world chess champion level by any means. You could probably, hand me my ass, no problem these days. But
how young they get into it,
yeah,
and like they were kicking my butt. Full like I would have to look up the rules, and I'd be
Yeah.
like, no, you can't do, because they'd make their own rules and be like, I win. I'm like, no. If we're gonna play the real way.
yeah. Because I think I started about grade 3, and I think what are you 7 or 8 when you
At least no, yeah, so 8.
8 years old
8 or
when
9?
you're grade 3, somewhere around there, and I played all the way through high school.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Loved
So
it.
if you're even mildly interested in chess, go do it.
Yeah, and encourage your children to do it because it does give them the ability to sort of develop that critical thinking and whatnot, and that logical thinking.
Yeah.
As much as we've been saying embrace chaos, it's good to have the logical side too.
Well, I think, and that's where the Empress and the Emperor kind of play really nicely off of each other, where like, so if the Empress is that creativity chaos side of your brain, the Emperor is more that logic, that like straight and narrow, that duality that balances it out.
And
That's
it's the
what I'm trying-
focus
Yep.
too. It helps bring all that creativity and go, okay, let's do it this way. And you go, oh yeah, this is a great way,
Instead of going, I still want to do this, and not knowing where to start.
Yeah, or going, here, there, and everywhere and running
Yep.
around like a cartoon character.
I just have meep meep.
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh, those cartoons were great.
Oh, they were great. They should bring back Looney Tunes. I think we learned some things. Despite the fears of, he's going to try and do it like the Wile E. Coyote does. It's like,
The Wile E. Coyote was the best.
I know, right? Oh, he was great. Acme loved him. Acme was the old school Amazon.
Was it?
Yeah, well, he ordered everything from
Oh,
Acme.
yeah, that's right. And then
it
it would
always
just like
got to-
magically show up.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
And it had everything from anvils to mattress springs to,
To like kaboom boxes.
yeah, to, earthquake pills
Earthquake pills. Oh.
and bird seed because you had to hide the pills inside the bird seed, right?
We need to do another podcast watching a couple of those.
Yeah, exactly. I love Looney Tunes. Anyone out there a Looney Tunes fan?
Tell
I love
us
Looney
which one
Tunes.
of your favorite character was.
Yes. My father's was Pepe Le Pew.
There's a lot of issues with Pepe now, eh?
Oh, is there really?
Yes.
Because he was a womanizer
Womanizer, and he didn't. So like, the cat's trying to get away,
and he wouldn't let her.
He wouldn't let her. So it was the whole consent issue.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious.
The things we grew up on.
Yeah, right? I mean, she looks like a skunk. Can you blame him?
No. But looks can be deceiving. That's what I learned about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly. Oh dear, oh dear. So, and then the Emperor in the Muse Tarot is a woman because the Muse Tarot is all female based. And she is, there are men, it looks like, in sort of her song.
Okay.
Or at
Well, I
least
really
that looks like song
bars,
lines.
yeah, like
yeah.
the sheet music bars.
Exactly. So I love the look of this card because it's like she's singing her own song and she's finding that, ability to embrace whatever life is giving her. And then there's like even more song bars kind of going through her head.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And she's got the red poncho on there. The red poncho of knowledge, because who doesn't want a red poncho of knowledge? And then she's got some mountains, which is, Aries because of the ram and climbing mountains and achieving those heights that only rams and goats can.
Okay, so I was looking for mountains in this card. So this is the Chakra Healing Tarot. And so he does a lot of sacral work and also
I wasn't sure where you're going there with
Yep,
that
I know.
SH.
let's
Sacral chakra.
sacral, not
It's interesting that the Emperor is doing sacral chakra work.
Well, this is one person's interpretation. This is where I have to dig out. I have another deck that has the chakras involved.
Yeah.
I just don't like it because it doesn't have a true representation. I think it's based on like the people are very whitewashed.
Okay.
So I don't like it just because I like when I read for people, I want them to be able to be seen in the cards.
Right.
But in the whole point of the deck was that they've taken the cards and they're lovely cards, and the borders are what the chakra is.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I need to see where their difference is because then I've just basically learned that, and I know there's a Rider-Waite-Smith version of this too. I'd have to go back and find it. I think I let my so the like intro to tarot decks that have like a small picture of the card. And then like some meanings, the astrological sign, the planet sign, and then the chakra. I need to go back and see if this corresponds with that.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because usually when you think of the sacral chakra, you think female, like the womb and stuff.
Yeah.
But men have the sacral chakra too themselves, right? So it's interesting that the Emperor has, like, his focus is the sacral chakra because, again, he's the Emperor through the Empress, right? It's only because the Empress came first that the Emperor is here. So it is through that sacral chakra. So there is that tie-in. I can totally see it. But it just kind of was like, oh, interesting, because I would have naturally thought Empress.
Given her the sacral.
Yeah.
Where she was the third eye in the throat.
Yeah.
So I found that really interesting.
Yeah.
But
so,
maybe like again, you were saying that like the king and the queen whispers in the ear, so she's like kind of the mastermind, which makes me think of like third eye. Upstairs a little
she's
bit.
the influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So that was a cool exploration of the Emperor. I'm sure the witches have something to say about the Emperor.
See what the witches have to say.
The feminist witches, hardcore feminist witches. Let's see if they have anything to say. They don't do all the Emperor. So, yes, I thought this was really interesting. So they changed the Emperor to the matriarch.
Ooh.
Yes.
That is interesting.
Yes. And another aspect of the mother, of course, the reasoner, the organizer, the structurer, the director, the provider, and head of the family who has control over her reality. You are the leader who empowers others, if you're embracing that female side of the Emperor, directing a household, and for most modern mothers, back in the 70s, handling a full-time job as well as it requires an assertive and powerful woman, back when we were having it all, quote unquote. But your creations are inspired, positive, productive, and self-loving. They could be your children, they could be your business for yourself, if you do work for others, it must be in a position of authority. Ooh. According to the witches. You are a great source of security, strength, inspiring, and motivating others. So yeah, so that it's, I mean, again, this was written in the 70s, back when, you know, we were coming out of our kitchens, so to speak, and burning our bras and all that kind of stuff.
Wouldn't that have been the second wave of us doing that? 'Cause didn't we do that first in the World War?
The first wave was when we were no longer property of our husbands in the 1800s. And then at the earlier 1800s, mid 1800s, I think it was.
Okay.
Because under the marriage contract, we were
Property. Yeah.
and we couldn't earn a paycheck. Our paycheck had to be written to our husbands. Yeah, there you go.
I would not have
The
gotten
second
married
wave,
that
the
time.
second wave was at the end of the 1800s, and it was
Okay.
the suffrage movement.
Oh yes, because the ability to vote and
Yeah.
we're our own person and
Exactly.
I keep forgetting we've
So
come
the third
far.
wave was when we were burning our bras and
Yeah.
stepping out of the kitchen. But again, like I said, why did we want equality when we already had superiority? We just had to flex our muscles a little bit, right? The suffrage movement was very much inspired by the Haudenosaunee people, because a lot of white women saw these Indian women going, they own property, they are voting chiefs in, how come we're not doing that stuff, right?
Yep.
And there were a couple Haudenosaunee people that are women that were invited to the first talks about suffrage and whatnot. Suffrage is the vote, getting the vote. Because I've seen the late night talk shows where they go out on the street and ask people what suffrage is.
And
And
nobody knows anymore.
I know,
Like
they-
I remember
are you
at
pro
some
suffrage?
point.
No, I'm not pro suffrage because I think suffering.
Yeah.
Suffering and suffrage are two different things.
Well, I find it really interesting because I don't remember a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, my history lessons came in high school, because I did a social. Well, sorry, my history lessons went into college. Oh, that's an interesting. We're gonna have to wrap her up soon, or you're gonna lose your phone.
Yeah. Okay. I guess my phone is dying. So we're going to good night for now.
Yes.
And we will bring up all these other topics again on Other Delights.
Other
as
Delights.
Well. So I hope you enjoyed the Emperor and all our tangents that we took.
And I'm gonna watch this back and write stuff down and get ideas for the next one.
Yes, and leave us questions in the comments or go to our Facebook group, Goddess Garage, and ask questions as well, because we're happy to answer any questions you have about tarot and tarot delights, any other questions in Other Delights that will be starting in the fall. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Oh, doesn't want to recognize my finger. There we go.